favorite places to visit in Millville is located right at the intersection of Central and Hope. This Millville Lock bikeway and walkway is nicely paved, and not only is it a great place to walk in general, but it also leads you to one of the most fascinating places in all of the Blackstone Valley. Once you get a little ways down the bike path, there'll be a set of stairs down to the left, so you'll want to go down those stairs and head down the dirt path. And there, on your left, over a short little bridge, will be the last remaining fully intact, or nearly fully intact, lock from the Blackstone Canal. It's right alongside the Blackstone River, which you can see to the right there. Here's a view head-on of the lock, looking upstream. So we're at the downstream side and we're looking upstream. The way this would work is that there'd be a wooden gate at this end, if you can see the channels in the shadow there on the left and right that the gate would slide into, and then there was a gate at the other end. And these were solid gates that would create a bathtub for the boat, and the boat would have to fit exactly in this square area. That's why boats were those long rectangles, because they had to fit in these locks. And the lock's purpose was to raise and lower the boat as it was going from higher levels of the canal to lower levels of the canal. So let's say that it's going upstream and it needs to get up to a higher level of water. So the boat would float into this with the top upstream side blocked off, so it would be a low level of water. So the boat would get all the way in here, and then they would close the back gate. So now it was in like a little bathtub in there. And then they would slowly open the upper gate so that water slowly came in and would make the boat go up and up as the water filled it up. And when the bathtub was full and the boat was floating up at the top of it, they would open up the top gate, and now the boat could sail out and go upstream and be at the correct water level. So this was a great way to either raise the boat up if it was going upstream or lower the boat down if it was going downstream. And they did it simply by opening and closing these gates. And in either direction, the boat had to fit within this bathtub so it could go up and down. And that meant that all these boats were pretty much the same exact rectangular size because they had to fit in this lock left and right and also fit in the lock front to back. Here's a view across the top of the lock. It's really pretty narrow. If you took a running jump, you could probably jump from one side to the other. Not, of course, that I recommend it, because if you fell, you might get hurt. But these were made from solid stone, and these were located all along the length of the Blackstone Canal. And it's pretty amazing the amount of engineering they had to do to carve out all of the land and to put all of these blocks in place and make all of these locks. So definitely take a look at the Blackstone Canal history to learn more about this amazing feat of engineering that they did. And they put enormous amounts of effort into making this entire canal system, and then only 20 years later the trains came in and everyone started using the trains instead. So then they just shut down all the canals. So it shows just how much our world changes. Here's a view from one of our other Blackstone Valley Art Association trips to the Canal Lock. We love the Canal Lock and we go here fairly often, and these are public outings, so you guys are welcome to come and join us, or you can of course go on your own. It's a wonderful place to go visit and explore and think about what it must have been like to live back in a time when the easiest way to move around the Blackstone Valley was drifting on these canal boats. It would have been a lot of fun to drift along and see all sorts of new towns and interesting sights. So this one was taken in the summer months, as you can tell by the greenery, and you can see how much it's become overgrown over the years, where we've got actual trees and grass growing in there now. In this view, you can see some of the fittings that they had in place to move those massive wooden gates that were at either end. The gates had to be strong enough to hold the entire bathtub worth of water in there while the boat was going up or down. So it was a pretty strongly built structure. Here's a view from the upstream side of the canal, and you can see it looks pretty much the same. It was symmetrical in both directions, so you can see here the grooves where the gate would slide up and down to let the boat in and out, and you can see that it was long and narrow. That was the shape of all of the boats. Let's talk about a few photography tips. When you're trying to take a picture to show something to other people, it's good to make sure that you can see it clearly. So in this version, the scene is too dark. If you get there late at night and your camera can't handle the darkness, or early in the morning, you might want to come back at a different time of day so it's brighter. You might want to get a different camera that can handle low light settings more easily, or you might want to check your camera settings in general to see if there's some other way to be able to get more light in so that you can see the scene more clearly. You can see what the problem is here. Now we've got the opposite problem. We let in too much light, and usually this happens with a camera setting that's set off. So you want to check your camera and see if there's a way to either shorten the amount of time that the shutter is open, or maybe change the size of the shutter opening so that it's letting in less light, because if you let too much light into your camera, then it can get too bright and then it's hard to see the details. Another thing to think about is, does the picture you're taking portray what you want it to? This could be a beautiful abstract picture because it just shows the side of the canal inside walls, so you're standing down inside the canal lock to see this. And there's beautiful moss and all the little details on the craggy stones. So this could be great as an abstract picture, but if you're trying to show someone what a lock looks like and what its purpose is, this wouldn't be very helpful because it just looks like any stone wall. So think about what the purpose of the picture you're taking and what you want it to convey. Or how about this picture? This picture just shows a side angle down into the canal to show the mossy bottom of it, and the side closest to us on the right is too bright and white and it catches the eye and distracts us. And then the side on the left is pretty dark and in shadows. So if you just showed this to someone, it's not clear what it's about in terms of the canal, and then the bright white is so distracting that it doesn't even really work as an abstract picture that shows different layers or whatever other kinds of things you might want to show. So if you wanted to do this as an abstract, you'd want to play with the light and shadow so that the left wasn't so bright and so that everything was in better balance. If your purpose was to show what the canal was like, you'd probably want to step back a little further so that you could get a better sense of what the canal in general was doing. It's fun to go back to places like the canal lock many different times over the seasons to see how it changes. So in this one, you can see that the middle area is all wet and soggy. And even if you had boots, it might be hard to go in there and not get yourself stuck. So if your purpose was to go into that inner area and get some pictures of the inside of the canal lock, you probably wouldn't want to go during the spring time of year because it would be hard to do that inner area. You'd want to go in the summer or fall when it was nice and soft and grassy and you could go walking around. And you probably wouldn't want to try this in the winter because the snow would be pretty rough to get up and down the road path there. So whenever the weather is good, take a walk down to the Millville Lock. It's a beautiful location. It's right by the river. It's got all sorts of really cool views, and you get to experience a part of Blackstone Valley history.